I don't want to set the world on fire.
Hi everyone, this is Violet Irwin. I decided to do a car confessional today, even though I wasn't planning on it, because look at my hair, right? I'm a hot mess. But I wanted to come on because there's a message that I think is being missed in today's news cycle that I really wanted to address. So what's happening today is Donald Trump allegedly said something along the lines of like, oh, why are we bringing all these people from these shithole countries into the United States? Like, and you know, allegedly he denies it, and something along the lines of like, can't they go back to Haiti or Africa or something like that? Now, Donald Trump denies saying this, and the media, you know, in their classic fashion, has just totally lost their goddamn minds. You know, like Anderson Cooper gets up on there and is like crying last night, and you know, I saw, I think it was Mark Dice who had a montage of like how many times CNN said shithole last night. It was like more than 35 times that they said it in one night, even though that's what supposedly offended them in the first place. So you know, there's all of this hubbub about it, and I'll admit I tweeted about it a little bit because, you know, this is sort of an interesting topic, like whether or not he said it, like, you know, he has a point if he did say it, but it's also pretty fucking rude, you know? So I go back and forth on it, but to me, and the reason why I want to record this, this is all a distraction. Like, whoever this leaker or like sources that brought this shithole countries thing to light, to me, this is clearly to cover up two things. The first is, everyone kind of wants to feel like, oh, we got rid of all the spying from the NSA, like, didn't they fix all of our privacy? It's like, hate to break it to you, but just this week, Congress reauthorized most of the stuff that they deauthorized when they supposedly, you know, reined in the NSA. So all the, like, warrantless searches of your stuff, you know, all of this, like, secret courts without your notice, like, all that's still back in force, you know, as of this week. So, you know, where's the reporting on that? We're going to report on what someone said Donald Trump might have said about some countries that really are kind of shitty, right? The second thing that this is a distraction from is the story that James O'Keefe has been reporting on and, you know, discussing in great length, which is Twitter censoring conservatives actively. Like, he has recorded evidence of Twitter engineers explaining how they censor conservatives. Like, not even just saying that they do it, but how they do it. Sorry. Oh god, what is the deal with me and like ambulances while I'm recording? Oh god, it's coming right up behind me. I gotta get over. Okay. Fire truck averted. But what I was talking about was the shadow banning that they're doing on Twitter. So this is how they've been censoring conservatives. There's a quote from one of the Twitter engineers basically saying that they'll shadow ban an account, and what that means is that person can still keep tweeting and they don't see that anything different has happened, but no one else can see their content effectively. Like, if their followers are online at the right time, they can see the content, but no one else will see it. No one else will see it ever because the account's been shadow banned. Now, Twitter, like Jack Dorsey or whatever, comes out after his first video and just says, oh, this is just some lone guy. But then, you know, he releases like 8 people saying it, and then Jack Dorsey's like, oh, well, you know, we do it on like a case-by-case basis or some shit. It's like, no. There's people on tape saying that you actively and purposefully censor conservative voices. And it's not even a question. There's so many people doing it. So this is a huge deal. And here's the other thing. Everyone's focusing on the shadow ban part, which I do think is really disturbing. And frankly, it's a consumer protection problem if they're not disclosing this to the public. Like if they have an algorithm that silences certain opinions, but then they're advertising to the public that it's a free forum, that is fraudulent actually in terms of false advertising, right? So you can't say your product is open to all opinions and then censor half of the opinions. You just can't do it, right? So that's a problem in and of itself. But to me, I have less of a problem with that than with some of the other details that came out in these videos from Project Veritas, okay? Which includes that the federal government will just go to Twitter without a warrant and just be able to access everything that that person's done on that account ever. Their passwords, all their private messages, all their followers, anyone who follows them, anything they've tweeted and then deleted. This is why I disagree with this whole idea that now these tech companies are a bigger threat to our liberties than the government, okay? The government's always the biggest threat to your liberties. Always, right? I mean, there could be kind of this talk about like, are these a public utility or not? Like, so should we have some regulations on them or not? But to suggest that Twitter is a bigger threat than the federal government is just bubkiss, okay? I'm gonna say that outright. And here's why. The only reason Twitter is such a threat is because of the federal government, right? The only reason why we give a shit about shadow banning conservatives and we give a shit about all this censorship is because the next step is the federal government censoring us and throwing us in gulags and crap. Don't you guys get it? I'm sorry. Gotta take a step back. Sure, Twitter can shadow ban me, okay? Which I actually think that they might have already done, because I have more followers than I've ever had, which I admit is not that much. I'm still growing, right? But my tweet interactions are lower than they've ever been. Like, I don't think my followers actually even see my tweets more often than not. I really don't think they see that. But in any event, the reason why we don't like the shadow banning is not just because our voice can't get out there, because there's so many platforms, and you know, Twitter could get what was that one before MySpace? Friendster. Oh god, it was awful. So Twitter could get Friendstered really easily, and frankly, the only reason why they haven't yet is because places like Gab, they're too alt-righty, you know? And I really do think that if someone could come up with a better user interface than Twitter and are genuinely a free choice, you know, especially, because here's the thing. The reason why Gab hasn't become bigger too is because Apple has basically said they can't be in the App Store, and same with the Google Store. But I really think that Apple's grip on the market is shaking. And as soon as there's a new smartphone company in the picture, which I think is going to happen shortly, you know, some new Twitter could come in like that. So these companies are not immortal, okay? What is immortal, for the most part, is our crazy fucking powerful federal government. The kind of technology that our federal government has would make George Orwell blush, all right? So, to me, what's startling about all of this is, first of all, that in all this discussion of the Twitter censorship, the fact that Twitter and the federal government have been colluding together to provide information without warrants? Like, what the fuck? How come that's not the biggest story? That should be the biggest headline on every news network. It should be the biggest headline on Drudge. It should be the biggest headline on Zero Hedge. Like, they were reporting the censorship part, like the shadow banning, but people weren't even reporting this whole idea of the federal government just going to Twitter and getting whatever information they want. You know? Like, we're just a few little legal ticks away from having what they have in Great Britain, which is that you can be arrested for what you goddamn tweet. So, Everyone can argue about whether or not Haiti's a shithole, although I think we all know the answer to that. But the real question here is, are we okay with the federal government going to a private company without a warrant and receiving all that information? Right? Where is Congress on this? Oh, that's right. They spent this week making sure that the federal government could do precisely that. To wrap this one up, I'm sorry guys, I know I was almost yelling at you guys in this video. I really hope that the libertarians, you know, will come back and realize that while, yes, is there a cultural threat from Twitter? Yes, there's a cultural threat, and we should fight it. And anyone in the tech industry that's a libertarian or a conservative should be working, you know, tirelessly to come up with alternatives to these websites. But, you know, they are not the threat to your liberty. The threat to your liberty is always, always, always the government. Because the government is the only entity that can force you to do something. They're the only entity that can put a gun in your face and say, do this or you're dead. At least without consequences. I guess I forgot about, you know, our kind of neo-feudal class where there's certain elites who can certainly do that as well, but that's wrong. It's like, you know, it's a whole other video for that. You can't forget that at the end of the day, Jack Dorsey doesn't have a gun, okay? If I tweet some shit, the only way that I'm gonna get thrown in prison is if the federal government has access to what I tweet and criminalizes it, right? The only thing Jack Dorsey can do is ban me from his website, which might be irrelevant in a couple years anyway, right? It might be totally irrelevant. You know, we're imbuing these companies with more power than they have. They don't have a gun. The only people who have a gun is the government, and don't you forget that. And if you want the government going and harassing people with that gun, don't you forget that there's consequences to that too, you know? The government could get up in Twitter's face, but do you really want the federal government regulating what's said on Twitter or how Twitter is run? Libertarians out there, you want the federal government deciding how Twitter is run? If it's such a powerful, important instrument for free speech, which it's clearly not, you know, it's not fit for purpose, the answer is not to have the government come in and make it a force for free speech. It's to create other forces for free speech that people will go to. Because here's the thing, people don't like being censored, okay? And will there maybe be some continuing echo chamber that is Twitter? Yes, but Twitter can become irrelevant so fast. Don't give the federal government any extra bullets against the American people, okay? Especially in the realm of the internet, and especially in the realm of where we voice our political opinions. We don't want the federal government involved in that. And if every libertarian is not struck to the heart by the idea that the FedGov is just going to Twitter without warrants and getting access to all of your Twitter information, including stuff you deleted, then, you know, I don't really know how much you really care about liberty. Because if you bring the federal government into the relationship between you and Twitter, the only person there who has any power is the government, and that's not going away, okay? Twitter, are they powerful? Yes. Are they uber powerful? No. Can they kill you? No. Can they imprison you? No. Only the government can do that. So, you know, you better think carefully about what kind of access to power you give an entity that has the kind of spying capabilities that our federal government has. And with that, I've yelled at you guys enough today. I love each and every one of you for putting up with me and listening to this car confessional. I hope you'll like and subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next one.
I just want to start a flame in your